the host of the Homeowner Show. Tonight we have a very special guest with us, Surveyor Timothy Ani Doho, and he is also a lawyer. And tonight's topic, we're going to be talking about buying land in the rainy season and hidden risks every buyer must check. So make sure you invite someone to join you tonight as we start the conversation. Right after this message, we'll be back.
It's me, Azar.
Yeah, me now they see. Hey, you look fresh. Oh.
Hey.
With your label today, me.
Wait till you see what's inside me.
Azar, freshly made inside and out for greater coverage and colors that last longer and beautify your walls, spaces and places. Azar, no size. Go ahead. Buy now. Azar, #1 from Azar Group since 1921.
From finding your dream home to building a legacy for your family, the Homeowner Show has been your trusted guide.
How sure are you what you're getting is the right land? And it has to do with searches, land commission, checking social planning authority, checking everything to make sure that what you are buying is not a problem or a challenge prone transaction.
The stress of even not owning a house and constantly coughing up to rent is a big issue.
Join me, Hannah Atiasi, and my distinguished panelists as we delve into exciting conversations. Season 3 of the Homeowner Show, every Saturday at 6 p.m., only on Metro TV. Don't just own a house, build a legacy for your family.
Production. Abrepo Production. Sekutu. Yes, there will be as a work up here. Will be a more modern. Don't Metro TV, original TV, any original FM. Because we now want to watch the BBA ACB because Black Stars, it can be. Go Black Stars. Go Ghana. Abrepo Production. Sekutu. Thank you very much for watching.
Catch every moment loud and live on Metro TV, Original TV, and Original 101.9 FM.
Are you looking for a property to buy or rent? Ewells Realty has got you covered. At Ewells, there is comprehensive advisory services, mortgage finance, sales, marketing, leasing, and investment as well. They are there to guide you through the real estate needs. So please make sure you call them 050-158-0464 or visit the website www.ewellsconsult.com or send an email to info@ewellsconsult.com. Every Saturday, make sure you tune in right here on the Homeowner Show on Metro TV at 6 p.m. GMT prompt. We bring you all the exciting and educative conversations from the building and construction industry in Ghana and beyond. To sponsor or partner with the Homeowner Show, make sure you call or text 0243-272753. Make sure you also like, comment, share the program with others. Do that right now at Metro TV Ghana or Homeowners TV GH. If you have any questions for our guest tonight, make sure you send them to this WhatsApp number 0243-272753. You know, as homeowners, we often rush to buy land because the price looks right or the documents look clean. But the rainy season really has a way of exposing the truth, the flooding paths, weak soil, and boundary issues that paperwork alone cannot show. So tonight on the show, we're going to help you understand what the rains are telling you all about the land that you want to buy, so you don't pay today and regret tomorrow. So I'm going to speak with our guest tonight. He is Surveyor Timothy Anidoho and also a lawyer as well. You are welcome to the show. But before I get you started, I want you to watch this video. Let's tune in to the video.
It's tough. I don't know what's up with us, but it seems to be getting worse by the year. And we can't blame, yes, we'll blame government, we'll blame institutions, we would be on everybody's case like you are this morning, you are NADMO, you are with the Ghana Fire Service and everything. But I'll still give 70% of the blame to us, human beings, and our behavior. On that Kaswa stretch, I would continually talk about that area because that's where I grew up. And I remember when my dad moved there, or moved the family there in 1999. And it is stuck in my head because we didn't want to move. Oh, yeah. Imagine 1999. You live at Taifa. And your daddy gets up one morning and says, I built my house in Kaswa, you are going. 1999. We were not happy. In fact, we tried a coup with our mother and the old man. We went to school, we came back, he had packed everybody, packed all our things. And whether he sold the other house or he rented it, I don't know. But on the way to Kaswa, I remember him trying to lighten the mood, you know, get the girls for us to be happy. Yeah. And one of the things he pointed out to us, after Tetegu Junction, those of you who know the Tetegu Junction, and then there's a small bridge that goes over the Weja River. Right. And that goes into the sea and into the westland. So when you cross Tetegu, all the left side, they were all wetlands and marshy areas. Right. And I remember my old man pointing out these flamingos. In fact, that was the first time I had actually taken notice of those flamingos. You know, they had these yellow, long legs, white with the mouth is pink or pinkish. And there were so many. That whole area was bare. I'm saying that right after Malam Junction. There's a junction called Tetegu. Between Tetegu and Choice. Just around the Weja Dam, the spillage area, and it was beautiful. So I always took notice of that site. Because every year, there were migratory birds, and it was beautiful. Then the space of between 99 till now, that whole area has been built up. And there were some, we saw them building right to the edge of the Weja Dam. People were filling the space with debris, with rocks, with everything, and they were building there. So now in that area, they are having a problem of the Weja Dam being spilled and that area being flooded, coupled with rain. Last week, the dam was spilled. And you can't ask them that they shouldn't also open the dam. You know. And you know the sad thing, other people have built their houses on the correct space, the correct site. Some people have been in that area for years. But because other people have built on the waterways and we have all looked at them, now the flooding gets to well-built areas that do not flood. That is the situation we are having in that area.
Hours after last night's torrential rains, residents across the Ga East municipality are still counting their losses. Homes remain waterlogged, property destroyed, and tempests high. The floods, which began late yesterday evening, trapped many workers at their offices. Those who braved the roads were stuck in gridlock well beyond midnight. Frustrated residents and commuters say the impact is unprecedented. They blame two main culprits: buildings erected on waterways and drains choked with silt and waste.
Pantan Village. Okay. Pantan Village. Nina Yensu. Nyamikrom Junction. Nyamikrom Junction. Pachawa. Until also baby I want to feel I'm feeling in no mercy down. Until you shop. I feeling in also I feel. Pachawa. I know we see shop room. Me pachawa. Until you no to a kwamba so na how. Nso to a kwan wo mu nyina ye maka nko kamba. Nti ya ho kire wa pa. Ndura behwe ka park wa ha. Enye easy. Enye kura masa den SSM penny for ye na de ada so mbebubu no na yenso ya ye free na nso na nya kwan atwem wo so wo de ase ebubu wo bedwen ho so mini how so wo se ebubu a mini how enso no to no na we o na me wo na mo fie jesa me dem okwapo enso no eden ebu nti nyame adom anka nya nyame ebe mu aka me kola de anka eda na ede ebu go so na nyame adom ede me yi nkola nya nti no akwapo metima anda fie obi fie na ede me bedai wo dan no bui ebui baby adan won ususu say see ebubu oh me particular de momo aban adwuma to ohwa e won nsuo kwan mu aban bubu a ebe fine mpatwan
From Magbogba to Ashoman, Ablo Eje, Pantai, Abokobi and other adjoining areas, the call is unanimous. Demolish structures on waterways and carry out consistent desilting and dredging of drains. Head of Works at Ga East, Engineer Justin Glover, is confident that intermunicipal coordination efforts will yield lasting results.
This is actually one of our retention ponds. It's supposed to be engineered in a way that it can hold up more water in terms of flood or in terms of heavy rains, so that it releases it gradually as the rain subsides. As you can see, we are doing our best to protect it, but it becomes like you build, you demolish, they build, you demolish, and that is how come all these developments around this size are a bit down. So we need to get hold of it so we can get the ponds to hold the water.
All right, welcome back to the Homeowner Show. We just watched a video about some of the flooding that's happening across the nation. First of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Our surveyor, lawyer, Timothy Adiho. So please let us know your thoughts with regards to this video.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity again to be with you. I've been here, I think, 3 years ago.
Yes,
so
welcome
it's good to
back.
come back. Yes, it's good to come back. Well, the 3 videos that I watched tell the same sort of story. First, about how wetlands have just been converted full-blown residential areas, and how those buildings, they see the signs, it happens year after year, but the attitude is to continue building. And it's a failure of enforcement, it's a failure of due diligence by those who buy, it's an attitudinal problem. And you see one of the gentlemen say, I have also filled my place, I put my kiosk there. When it rains, it inconveniences all of us. Then they ask him, would you be willing that they break the building? First, he breathes a sigh. Later says, well, I don't mind if it's for the good of all. If the attitude is that we've come to a stage where we need to stop and take stock. And as Engineer Glover said in the last video, it's municipal districts. There has to be some coordination. One good thing that has happened is that in Greater Accra, for instance, the breaking up of the assemblies into smaller assemblies is helping them have a bigger capacity to deal with these problems. For instance, AMA, as we know it now, used to cover a vast area. Now they have few equipments. They will have to be able to check this in Dansuman and check it in some Kaneshi and check it. So it was a difficulty. But at least now they've broken them into smaller assemblies. And that's how come you see the efforts by the chief executives, by the engineers, as being a little bit more effective, and the focus being more on where the problems are happening. And I think that if we all collectively come to an understanding that, look, we need to stop. we need to stop somewhere and take stock and sacrifice what we need to sacrifice for the greater good. I think it will be better.
You touched on a few things. You said that it's lack of enforcement.
Yes.
So who should be held responsible? Then you mentioned that developers are building in those areas.
Yes.
And then buyers. I mean, we're going to touch on developers. We're going to touch on buyers and what buyers can do. Because, I mean, a buyer puts their trust in developers, you know. So who is responsible for enforcing these things to make sure that we're not building in flood-prone areas, or some of these areas are waterways, right?
Yes.
So who is held liable to make sure that we are not building in waterways?
So the principal development agent for prevention of developing without permits is the assemblies.
Okay.
And the assemblies have two critical units: the town and country planning, or land use and spatial planning, and then the works department, which is where the last video showed the engineer for Ghana East who was speaking. Now, if you buy or purchase land where you want to develop, or you're a developer, the critical thing that permits you to be able to develop is a permit.
Yes.
The permit is given to you by the local authority. The local authority is supposed to have mapped out its area, the area within its district. And in that mapping, it will identify various uses and various zoning areas and various land use patterns within the area. So areas that are flood prone, like he said in the last video, the area that is a pond that's supposed to be a receptacle for all the water that comes. So on the plans of the assembly, that whole place may be designated as some water area. So there will be no laid out parcels of land in that area. So if you apply for a permit, they are going to reject your permit, even if you have gone ahead to purchase that parcel of land, because it doesn't conform to the layout that they have. The challenge we have is that people are developing ahead of getting the permits.
Okay. So the question then is, do people have access to the town and planning maps and the layouts?
Yes.
So they do. So they're fully aware that those are flood zones. So they are building out of indiscipline.
Yes. So and they don't, again, and I said it's an enforcement problem also. Right. So if you are building without a permit, who is watching on as you build without a permit? And that again becomes the assembly's responsibility.
Right, because there's no way you can build a complete development
from the beginning
because that takes years.
That takes years. Yes. Some averagely says in Ghana 4 or 5 years if you're an individual and you want to build. If it's a
huge development.
Yes. It takes averagely. So again, it's the assembly. And if you talk to the assemblies, they'll tell you they lack the equipments or the capacity to be able to remove those structures and to do it consistently so that people... So the last video, the engineer says, look, we stop it, we demolish it, we come back the next time they built it.
What about the court system?
So before you finish injunctions and court systems and back and forth, that will take some time procedurally. So if there's no injunction, then that means people may continue building. Mm-hmm. So the most critical part is who loses in the long run, in my view. In the chain, as we discuss it, you find out that you, the buyer, you're the one developing, you are the one who is going to lose valuable investment in the long run if it has to be broken down. And you find out that most of these demolitions are going on. The people are crying about the loss of their investment. What they are not doing is to stop and look at themselves and say, what did I do wrong in the beginning?
Right.
Are they permitted buildings? Are they even lands that are registered? Are they lands that were properly acquired? So as sure as we do the discussion, we'll find out what we need to do to avoid putting ourselves in a position where the hard-earned investment then ends up being under subject of a demolition by natural forces, as we are finding out. So in the rainy season, you find people moving out of their structures, coming back during the dry season, and during the same problem cycle the next year. It cannot work that way.
So where can individuals get access to the town and planning map so that they can see for themselves, because now they were trusting developers, right?
Yes.
And the developers sold them these lands.
Yes.
And now they may not feel they could trust.
Yes.
So if they go directly to the source, where would they go?
Every assembly has a town and country planning department as part of it. So if you go to any, from Accra to Volga, everywhere you go, there is a planning authority that you can ask. And also, when we are going to purchase buildings, or we are going to develop it, or we are going to buy land, hardly do we do the planning bit as part of our due diligence. We are more laser-eyed on, is it for the person selling it? We do a search at Lands Commission, we will try to inquire, but we don't ask, do they have a permit for the buildings that they're building, for instance? Have we gone to the development authority? I believe long-term, what the development authorities will need to do is to display this kind of plans so openly in areas that it's very easy for anybody to know. I say that because in developed countries, you go then, it's easy for you to find out where it's been designated as a church, as a school, where is residential buildings. Unlike here, where again, you have to now go and search with the planning authorities to find out
with the zoning
what the zoning is. So if you use professionals to acquire land, surveyors, lawyers, and all that, you find out that the planning bit is an integral bit of the due diligence that you must do, and then you must be sure. So if you're going to buy a home, for instance, asking if there's a permit covering the home, for instance, will not be too much to ask for, because it will tell you a certain story.
Right.
If there's a permit, then you must understand that it meets all the requirements for the development.
So with a buyer, you know, who's told, do your due diligence, make sure you validate the ownership, make sure there are no pending court cases, etc., etc. So what, essentially, we're in the rainy season now, right?
Yes.
And so as a buyer, what would I need to look out for that would be any different to the regular land documents, title documents, and that sort of thing? Site plan?
Yes, site plan. But most of the, again, as I said earlier on, the buyer would be looking at the title bit. But that's usually where people focus on.
Yes.
Who has title to the land? Is it the right person selling to me? The planning bit has been relegated to the back. And as a country, we found out that this challenge has been happening over the years. So in the 1992 Constitution, for instance, which is the grand law that we all apply, for stool land, the Constitution is clear, Article 267. There will be no grant of concurrence or consent by the Lands Commission if the particular parcel of land does not conform to the development plan or the proposed development plan. It was an effort to resolve some of these problems. So if you are going to register stool land, for instance, Lands Commission would ask the Assembly, what's happening to this land? Does it conform to the planning? And that was to help resolve some of these issues we are talking about. In 2020, when we passed the Land Act 1036, we found out that we must expand that inquiry beyond stool land, for instance. So now, Section 117 will say the Lands Commission should acquire these plans from the assemblies.
Right.
So that these plans are also available to you. So if somebody is registering land, you don't look only at the title bit, but you also look at the conformity with the planning, with the schemes, planning schemes, so that it can help resolve the issue of detaching registration of title from conformity to planning, because they are two different entities altogether.
Right. Yes. So for a first-time home buyer, you're already overwhelmed with the home buying process and getting financing and that sort of thing. So I just want clarity for our viewers who are watching today. We are told to get a surveyor to go and pick the points, get the coordinates, create the site plan, and run the search. Is it at that point that you say to your surveyor, please check and make sure this is not in a flood zone?
Exactly.
At what point?
So once you get the site plan, then you have the coordinates of the parcel. So with the coordinates of the parcel, you can now approach the assembly, the town and country planning unit in the assembly, and say, can you check for me if this conforms to the zoning status? That is critical, because the site plan will become the basis for the inquiry that you must take. So whilst you are doing your search with the Lands Commission, you must also make an inquiry with the Assembly. It's good because you are now trying to also understand that once you acquire the title, the next action you will do is to go to the planning authority for your permit. That's if you are developing yourself. If you are getting it from a homeowner, the permit would be a part of the inquiry you make from the seller. So you ask him, I want a site plan, but can I see whether this construction is permitted?
Fantastic. So for viewers that are tuned in, make sure that you also check with the planning authority, or make sure you prompt your surveyor that you're working with to check with the planning authority as well. Make sure that there is a building permit in place. Very, very important to know that there is a permit, because you don't want to purchase the home and then years down the road they have to demolish it. So we don't want that for you. Now, you know, I guess the broader question as well is, why are we seeing flooding outside of people, you know, building in the waterways? Do you think also waste is part of it, or do you think that some of the water bodies are already clogged up? I mean, what is the larger reason here?
I think you find this very prevalent in the dense urban areas.
Okay.
So one critical thing is population increase, which development is going with, which the wastes, which comes with the waste and all the other factors. So for instance, I see it happen in the capital cities more often. So I've seen videos now in Cape Coast. I've seen videos in Ashanti region, in Kumasi. I've seen videos in Accra. Why is it happening in areas, then maybe the mining areas, where there's a lot of degradation? So there's a lot of digging, so the natural earth is gone. So if the water comes, the retention areas, the surfaces are all...
So soil erosion areas.
Soil erosion is moving with it. So if it's not a densely populated area, then it must be an area where there's been some form of digging, taking of the surface, which is making it easy for the water to run off. And with human activity comes a lot of other things. Waste, as you say. We have open drains in this country, which makes room for people to dump into our drainage systems. So if you watch most of the videos, you find out that the water hits some rubbish and starts overflowing. If the drains were covered drains, well-engineered covered drains, then you can see that it will prevent a lot of the wastes being put in these drains, and that clogging, causing some clogging somewhere. But the human activity, the development, and coming back to your first video, and she saw Westlands in 1999.
Yeah.
They are not there anymore. So when you hear demolitions happen in certain places, and people say, oh, we are seeing the demolitions, but we are not seeing the effects. What you should be asking yourself, it might have been even more worse.
Yeah.
Don't assume that because these floodings are happening, what they are doing is of no effect. It's because we've not seen the worst. we may be seeing it maybe at a more prevalent level if those demolitions were not happening. And people assume that if I can raise my foundation, if I can raise my wall, I have solved my problem. But think back what's happening behind, because you may be creating a certain clog, you know, going backwards. So I am quite impressed by the current efforts, general efforts in demolition or making an effort at restoring those wetlands that we have, looking at clearing the drains. And if they can do that consistently, I'm sure we'll get to a place where it may be easier on us than it is now. The Weija area, for instance, acquisitions done post 1950, when Ghana became a republic, foresaw this challenge. So it's a huge area of the Weija Dam. Then you had irrigation as the next buffer. Then we had government farms as the next buffer, because they could see this happening. But a lot of encroachment has happened since then. People have occupied the place, and that's exacerbating the problem that we are having at the moment.
So how important do you think it is, now that we're in the rainy season, to do a site inspection? Hold your thought. When we come back, we're going to take a short break He's going to answer that question. How important is it to do an active inspection in the rainy season? We'll be right back.
It's me, Azar.
Yeah, me now they see. Hey, you look fresh. Oh.
Hey.
With your label today, me.
Wait till you see what's inside me.
Azar, freshly made inside and out for greater coverage and colors that last longer and beautify your walls, spaces and places. Azar, no size. Go ahead. Buy now. Azar, #1 from Azar Group since 1921.
From finding your dream home to building a legacy for your family, the Homeowner Show has been your trusted guide.
How sure are you what you're getting is the right land? And it has to do with searches, land commission, checking social planning authority, checking everything to make sure that what you are buying is not a problem or a challenge prone transaction.
The stress of even not owning a house and constantly coughing up to rent is a big issue.
Join me, Hannah Atiasi, and my distinguished panelists as we delve into exciting conversations. Season 3 of the Homeowner Show, every Saturday at 6 p.m., only on Metro TV. Don't just own a house, build a legacy for your family. All right, welcome back to the Homeowner Show. I've been talking with my guest, surveyor and lawyer, Mr. Timothy Anidaho. Sir, thank you so much for, taking time to be here today. And before we went on a break, I did ask you the question, is this a good time to really do an active inspection of the land? Because we are in the rainy season. Is it a good time? Can we do any sort of drainage assessment? What kind of assessments should buyers be looking to do in this season?
Well, I've seen people write and say, now if you want to buy land, the best time would be in the rainy season.
Absolutely,
yeah, and
I agree.
And it's just a general caution and advice. That would be the best time to be able to inspect, because sometimes the effects of the actions are not immediate where the land is. So you may go there, it looks fine, everybody's building in the dry season, you've checked your title, it checks out, you've ticked the box. Unless maybe you follow on to the assembly, where then caution may be given to you if the area generally is a flood-prone area. But sometimes that area may not be flood-prone, but activities down the road may have a spillover effect where you are buying from. So it's not because it didn't tick all the boxes of due diligence. The challenge may be that it's suffering somebody's sneeze down the road. So the best time to be able to check your land before you commit your money for purchase, if you know there's a possibility of this effect, it would be during the rain. And the active site inspection is important. The day after
just
rain.
Go out there and
just check.
Wear your boots. Should the water be at a certain level? I need details.
Yeah. So again, I say for the ordinary mind,
right,
you may not understand it as much as professionals would. People often in Ghana don't want to use professionals. We want to become professionals overnight. So I always tell my friends, if you have somebody who does construction or just a friend engineer, I've had friends, civil engineers, go with me to areas. And just by merely walking down there, he says, look, I think there's something wrong with the soil. There's a potential. It seems very, very lateral.
So if you step into the soil, it sinks in a little bit.
He can say, I don't like. And there are things that older people see. They may not be professionals, but there's this tall something grass. It grows usually where there's wetlands. Yes, it's very common
like
in Ghana.
Cane,
yes,
right?
It looks thin. It has many local names, but people look at it and say, they look at it and they suddenly say, this area looks
love that.
A bit watered. And that's for the ordinary untrained mind. You start seeing that the whole area looks and it's dry, but you can see that particular weed seems to cover a lot of
folks. I hope you are taking notes, paying attention, and share this program with a loved one, right? Because number one, go to the area, walk the area. If the soil seems a bit sunken in, it's an idea of soil erosion. If you see certain plants or weeds that grow only in flooded areas, that's a big red flag.
Of course. I
love this.
It's a huge.
This is a good class right here. Fantastic.
It's a big red flag. And sometimes you can just ask people in the area who have lived a bit, just little inquiry, and say, look, when it rains, is there any effects here? And sometimes people have had good advice. Ghana, we like sharing information, even unsolicited. So just going around and say, I'm thinking of buying land in this area, but you think...
Right, check with the neighbors.
Yeah, check with the neighbors. That when it rains sometimes, has anything happened? Last year's rain, did you have any difficulty here? That can give you a certain sense of the general vulnerability of the area to flooding.
These are great tips. Great tips here. If you have any questions, please send them to the WhatsApp number 0243-272753. You will see the phone number or the WhatsApp number on the screen as well. And I want to switch gears here. We've been talking to surveyor and lawyer, so I do want to switch gears and start asking a few legal questions here. Are there any type of clauses that one can put in the sales and purchase agreement to sort of protect ourselves? And if so, could you highlight a few for us?
So generally, if you're going to enter a transaction for a land, the due diligence bit becomes very critical to the agreement you're going to enter. So for instance, now that we've seen that flooding becomes an issue, if you do your due diligence, even before you get to the stage of preparing the sale and purchase agreement, you may walk away from the transaction because the assembly has advised you. If after all that you've come to a stage of doing the sale and purchase agreement and you are looking for clauses that would help you or protect you or be able to safeguard your interests, then of course you can couch them. Lawyers are professionals, we couch them all the time. So for instance, flooding is seen as a natural, what we call a force majeure. But that cannot be in the case where the place is prone to that. You cannot say because flooding seems to be a natural activity,
natural disaster,
so you can get away from it. If the area is known to be flood prone, then obviously you have to get a clause and say, if the person knows that this area is prone to flood and he sells to you and you make any loss based on the representations that he has made to you, then there will be a room for recovery. Because some things are just beyond natural human ability. The place may be dry, it may not be flood prone, it's not had flood in maybe 20 years. And suddenly, as I highlighted before, activities upstream somewhere may have led to that. That the law may see as a force majeure, as natural disaster. But some areas, they know.
Right.
Because it's happened year after year after year, and they have made some representations. Sometimes people go to purchase buildings, developments, and they'll say, we are in the process of acquiring the permits. We show you evidence that we've submitted it for permit. You are eager to buy. But again, look at your clauses. You can indicate that if the person is not granted a permit and something happens that would affect the building you've purchased, then you can be liable, the seller may be liable to a certain level of compensation to the buyer because you believe that the seller should have acquired the permit before he developed and sold to you.
Right.
So if you are so eager and you want to, then always remember that you must have some clauses that will protect you in case, sometimes you may not be able to stop it, but it's about the compensation, it's about the recoveries. It's about what you can do when the worst happens in situations like
What
this.
about flood insurance? Can we just not get flood insurance and everybody's okay?
So the insurance companies can look at that. Again, it's about whether it's a product they believe is sellable. And then, in Ghana, certain things don't happen as often. So with like earthquake, for instance, you don't find people being so eager and the insurance companies looking at it. But again, if it's a product that the insurance companies sell, and I know they sell some of these products, then why not? You pay your premiums, you cover yourself just in case it happens, you know that you can recover. But in Ghana, we don't have the culture of insurance that much. But again, I would encourage, with all that is happening now, again, the insurance companies would insure you, but there will be clauses, little fine print somewhere that may be telling you that if it was maybe due to somebody's negligence, due to the lack of of something that was obvious, then you may not be able to recover that much. So we should all consider those things. And if the insurance companies sell them, we may be able to look at them. I know quite big companies that have recovered handsome sums, especially in Accra, for instance, the industrial area where some years ago, a lot of cars were destroyed at one of these companies where the place was not flood prone regularly, but then it happened and then they had some recovery. So people do fire, people do flood based on where they are and they're able to recover.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So I want to go to some of our viewers' comments and questions. We have Paula. She said, excited about today's discussion on buying land during the rainy season. Paula, thanks for tuning in. We have Charlotte. Happy Saturday. This is such an important topic for everyone planning to invest in land. Absolutely. Russ. Hello, Russ. Looking forward to hearing the insights from the experts. Eminette Mafu. Hi, Eminette. How are you? Excited for today's session already. Davon, many people don't think about how rain can reveal hidden land issues. And I believe you've touched on some points there. And he also says, ask for a property permit before buying. I'm glad you're taking notes. Awesome. Roy says, thanks for hosting this session. Yorlo says, buying land is a huge investment, and information like this can save people from costly mistakes. Absolutely. Bob says, greetings from Ghana, ready to learn something valuable today. Kobe, looking forward to hearing the legal and surveying perspectives on this issue. I think he's touched on both the surveying aspect of it, checking with the planning authority, and the legal aspect is making sure you have clauses to protect yourself. Clayton, how common are flooding issues on lands that look perfectly fine during the dry season? How common is this? Thanks for your question, Clayton.
Yeah, well, again, as I said, it's depending on the red flags we have discussed.
Yes.
Whether there's some vegetation that reveals whether how soft the land is, would tell us the story when the rains begin. Again, rarely in some few cases, it may be perfectly fine, but again, activities down the stream may lead to some unexpected flooding in it. So it's not as common in areas that don't have the possibility of liability, but where there's these vegetations, then you can say that then it's quite common. It happens year after year. Like we heard on the TV, some areas, they know it will happen. Once the rain starts, they'll go and come back again in the dry season. They come back again to the same problem again. So in those areas, it's common because it's low lying. There's nothing, no amount of raising of foundations would affect it. You still seem to go back into the water as soon as the rains come again.
So if you know you're in a flood-prone area, the key thing is to maybe raise the foundation.
The
put
key
a
thing
lot
would be not to come at all.
Well, there you have it, folks. Do not step on that land, says lawyer. But if you insist, and you love the area, raise it up, right?
And the assembly hasn't stopped you for no permit, then you must think of going a bit higher. Yes.
Raise it up a bit. All right. It says the guest, this is Francis, the guest is explaining things so clearly. Jack, excellent point about drainage paths. And then there's something, that's something many buyers overlook, absolutely. Kelly Grant, can a land buyer request a drainage assessment before making payment?
He can.
And who do you request that from?
Usually you find the engineers. In fact, at the assembly level, they have environmental people there, they have urban roads, they have all that you require. And if you lack that expertise from anywhere, if you check with assemblies, they would help you with that. Yes, down there you have every form of professional that you may require.
Look at that, folks. There is no excuse to be buying land in a waterway at all.
You'll find EPA officers, you'll find environmental officers, you'll find engineers even who can advise.
So go to your local assembly.
Your local assembly, they would be helpful. They would help you.
Wow. Drive over to your local assembly, folks. All right, Todd Campfield, great chemistry between the host and guest. The information is practical, easy to understand, and very useful. Jonathan says, how can first-time buyers identify poor soil conditions without technical knowledge?
It's just by sight. You see
some of those plants you mentioned.
The vegetation you see, just by even stepping on it after rain, you see the softs. You could just feel the soil and asking, you can be educated about it in the area. Yes.
Okay. And Don says, loving this session so far, lots of valuable insights. Jason, thank you for sharing real-world examples. Thanks for tuning in. And then if a property experiences seasonal flooding, should buyers automatically avoid it?
Yes. That means every season.
Yes,
every
avoid
season
it.
you'll be back to it. Every season you'll be back to it. You cannot stop it. So please just abandon it. I've had a very good friend who the whole family has lost. Very, very sad. 3 cars, a whole home. Yeah, that they moved in about 2 years ago.
Oh, sorry about that.
So it's so expensive if you don't do the checks at the beginning. It's quite expensive.
Todd says, excellent discussion. Mac Atramia. Many people focus only on location and price, but today's conversation shows why proper investigation matters. Absolutely. Daniel Jr. says, wow, that's a powerful point. And he says, how many buyers actually conduct site visits during rainy periods? I know during the rainy season, we just want to be in the warm house with a cup of Milo and just relaxing. People don't want to go out and see.
But you have to. Again, generally, you just have to go. You would have to check. You would just have to check. And what we don't do is that whether it's rainy or it's not rainy season, going to the site is so critical to your making the decision to buy. And if you do so, then this should be part of your checklist in your pocket. How the place is, and you ask. And again, when it rains and you go there, the effects will be obvious. Obvious to you.
So just grab a raincoat, your boots, and just go out there. Okay. The information. This Ariel says the information could save buyers thousands of dollars in future problems. Absolutely. And Yurmlo says we definitely need more live sessions like this. Ariel, what is the biggest mistake people make when inspecting land during the rainy season?
So the assumption that if it's not flooding today, it will never flood. Or if I've gone there today and there's no problem, it may never happen again. If you check with the assembly, you may have more advice beyond what you saw. So if I go there today and there's no problem there, maybe we are just there in a lucky day. So please go beyond what you saw at your first look and then check again and be sure. You never know.
Great. Todd says, excellent discussion. Kofi Yeboah on the graphic road. How do I know if the soil is weak, waterlogged, or clay?
So soil test, usually you have people who do the soil tests for you, so they can advise on you. Again, I say we don't like taking professionals. We assume we are experts to everything. We go and then want to look at it with our naked eyes. I'm not a soil engineer, but the big companies that build these huge buildings that you see, soil test is a requirement by the law. If you're going to even construct any structure beyond 2-story, 3-story, 4-story, 5, soil test, no matter where it is part of the requirements before your permit is granted to you, because you have to be sure the soil can support the nature structure that you're into. Soil test is an important requirement if you're going for a permit. Yes.
You know, I think people just do soil tests in like beachfront areas, but they don't focus on doing it just in regular areas. So you are encouraging people do a soil test everywhere.
Yes, because the law requires that when Act 925, which is for planning, requires certain things like fire, road, what we call traffic impact assessment, soil tests, the EP environmental permit if it's for churches or areas with noise. So there are requirements. So once you submit your plan for permitting, they will request for all these things as parts of the considerations before your permit is granted to you. Okay. So once it's beyond 2-story, you are going up. A soil test will be required. Depending on the use of the property, if it's going to be a commercial property, expect to see a traffic impact assessment, expect to see a soil test, expect to see. These are regular requirements that will be asked you before your permit is granted. That's why the permits are very important.
Okay, very important. All right. So Bob says no unnecessary jargon. Ariel says just useful advice people can apply immediately. And then Aragar says the show is providing real value to prospective homeowners as well. And just quickly, I just want to ask a few more questions here, and then we'll wrap up for this evening. Some lands look dry now, but flood later. What signs should I watch out for? This is Samuel in West Legon. I think you've touched on those signs. And Amake from Tema, how do I check if land is part of a waterway or flood zone at Lands Commission?
So you know the Lands Commission, it will be with the local assembly. So Lands Commission will not have the land use plan. That will be with the local assembly. So if you're in Tema, whether she's under Tema West, Tema, Tema proper, is Ashaman, whichever part of Tema you are in, you have a local assembly which has a planning authority as part of it, where you can just walk and check whether the land is part of. But you would require a site plan at least, a locational plan at least, so that it will help the planning authority advise you on whether it's in a waterway or not.
Well, speaking of advice, what is your final words of advice for every prospective home buyer, or even those who have already purchased their homes and now they have to wonder if this may be a flood zone in 5 years or 10 years time? So if you could speak directly to our viewers, your camera is right there, and just give them words of advice so that they don't go down the wrong waterway path.
Well, we focused many years on title. That's very important if you want to buy land. Who you are buying it from is very important. So the Lands Commission story has been said. Keep that with you and add a planning story to it. The planning story would be that it's important that you check, once you have the site plan with the local authority, first to know what the zoning of the parcel of land is and whether it's possible that you'll be granted a permit for it. Once you have that in your pocket, you are sure that when you buy that land, your permitting process will be done and then you can develop it. Then it advises you on a lot of things, on whether that land is possible, it's susceptible to flooding, whether that land may be susceptible to other things than flooding. Today we are discussing flooding, but tomorrow it may be an incompatible use. For instance, you may be buying a land next to a big church where the noise pollution may come into your ear. So going to the planning authority is very critical as part of your due diligence on a purchase of land. And let's add the planning bits to the title investigation bit so that we are sure that when we buy our property, you invest maybe in your lifetime, I was told, once in a property. Let's take our time. Let's check before we commit our funds to it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for being here today. Thanks for your words of wisdom, your words of advice. And those of you prospective homeowners, this is what you need to do. Make sure you actively inspect the land before you buy it. And do definitely send us your videos. Let us know some of the success stories and some of the stories of how you avoided buying land in a flood-prone area. It's the rainy season. Go out there, test the land, send us your videos, and we'd love to know how this show helped you navigate from buying in a flood-prone area. Again, I'm Hannah Tiase, host of the Homeowner Show. I'll see you next Saturday, 6 p.m. prompt, right here on Metro TV.
Metro TV, insightful and inspiring moments.
Girls with dreams become women with vision. This week on the PL Show, we go all the way up north as we bring to you the Discovery Edition, which features two amazing young ladies, Rhoda and Alima. From obscurity to clarity, they share real stories and experiences of the lives they have touched through their benevolent activities.
Not in the negative way, but in the positive way. I had that courage and I knew that with determination I'll be able to do it.
If you are watching this today, know that regardless of the situation that you grow up in, you can make a change in someone's life.
The PL Show is brought to you by Kel Charcoal, Kel 360, and Kel Kids Toothpaste.
Kel, happy smile.
Hi guys, my name is Kojo Oponkroma, Member of Parliament for the Righteous People of Ofuase Ayuribi. We are waiting to watch the World Cup, and we know that for many years now, for behind-the-scenes coverage, for up-to-date news, when it comes to the Black Stars in the World Cup, it's traditionally been Metro TV, and now you have Original TV and Original Radio. So I want to encourage you, watch Metro and Original for the latest updates on the Black Stars and the World Cup in US, Canada, and Mexico. We'll be watching. You watch too.
Catch every moment loud and live on Metro TV, Original TV, and Original 101.9